My coworker tried to get me fired because she didn't like my body. And what she didn't know was that the reason I looked the way I did was something that would completely destroy her. A few years ago, my mom died of breast cancer, and she wasn't the only one. Both of my grandmothers had also died from it, so at 24, I went in for a screening. That's when doctors found something. Cells in my breast that had a very high chance of turning cancerous. They gave me 3 options: regular screenings every few months and wait to see if it becomes cancer, remove just one breast and keep monitoring the other, or remove all breast tissue completely and eliminate the risk. I didn't hesitate. After watching what cancer did to my family, I chose the most extreme option, a full bilateral mastectomy. The surgery was supposed to leave minor scars. It didn't. Instead, I was left with 2 large, jagged, bright pink scars across my chest. And it destroyed me. I stopped going out. I avoided mirrors. I couldn't even look at myself without feeling sick. Eventually, I started therapy. And that's when my therapist suggested something unexpected: seeing a plastic surgeon, not out of vanity, but because my mental health was collapsing. The surgeon gave me a few options: creams, laser treatment, or implants. The first 2 didn't work, so I chose implants, not because I wanted them, but because I just wanted to feel normal again. And for the first time in a long time, I did. My confidence came back, my mental health improved, and I finally felt like myself again. Fast forward to now, I'm 28, working in an office and doing much better. Until one day, my coworker overheard something. A friend of mine jokingly mentioned my implants while we were planning a trip, and that was all it took. By the end of the day, my entire office knew, but not the real reason. Just that I had a boob job. And from that moment on, one coworker made my life miserable. Her name was Jill. At first, it was small comments, little jokes, but they didn't stop. They got worse. She called me fake, said I had more plastic than Barbie, and behind my back, she referred to me as a sack of silicone. 3 months. 3 months of constant comments, at least 3 times a week. And no matter how many times I asked her to stop, she didn't, because she thought it was funny. I think she also believed I got my surgery paid for by taxpayers, which made her even bitterer. I tried to ignore it. I really did. Until one day, I couldn't anymore. We were sitting in the lunchroom, just a normal conversation, and I used the word shallow. That's when Jill looked at me, gestured toward my chest, and said, "You'd know all about being shallow." That was it. I snapped. I looked at her and said, "Do you know why I look like this?" And then I told her everything about the cancer risk, the surgery, the scars, the depression, the therapy, everything. And I ended with one sentence: "Maybe next time you judge someone, you should know the full story." Then I got up and left. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. The next day, I got an email from HR. Someone had reported me for creating a hostile work environment. And I already knew who it was: Jill. But here's the twist. The HR person assigned to my case was her friend. At that moment, I realized something. If I didn't handle this carefully, I was going to lose my job. So I did something she didn't expect. I prepared. I went back through my contract and found a clause. I had the right to request an impartial reviewer. So I printed it out. Then I started collecting evidence. I reached out to coworkers, anyone who'd heard Jill's comments, and I asked them one simple thing: would you be willing to write what you heard? 16 people said yes. 16 written statements, all confirming that Jill had been harassing me. Not just me, other people too. Comments about weight, comments about appearance, even offensive remarks. The next morning, I walked into HR with everything: the statements, the contract clause, and a full timeline of what happened. When I got there, Jill's friend was waiting, ready to handle my case, but I stopped it immediately. I asked for an impartial reviewer, and they had to give it to me. That changed everything. The meeting started, and I laid it all out: calm, clear, facts only. They reviewed the statements, checked the timeline, pulled camera footage from the lunchroom, and then they started interviewing everyone, one by one, for hours, until finally they called Jill in. She was in there for 30 minutes, came out furious, then got called back in again. And right before the workday ended, she walked out of the office, packing her things. She looked at me and said, "You got me fired," and stormed out. A few minutes later, I got an email. My case was closed.